What's going on, folks? Dan here with another video. That's right, your boy has officially come out of copyright jail. I'll talk a little bit more about that situation at the end of today's video, but for today, we're going to be talking about one possibility that seems to be getting some traction in My Hero Academia Vigilantes. The possibility that we might finally see the very first fight between All For One and All Might happen. Like, the fight. So, as the local Vigilantes guy, I think it's perfectly logical to think that the story has been mounting up to this fact. Before we get started today, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you haven't read the most recent chapters of Vigilantes and My Hero Academia, be sure to read those and come on back. I don't want people to get any more spoiled than they have with my initial comments. That and my tangents are best understood after catching up. So without further ado, let's get inside. Alright everyone, grab a seat, welcome to the bar, thank y'all for coming by. Man, it's great to stand behind the bar again. So, today we're talking Vigilantes and particularly the possibility of All Might and All For One having the original fight that causes them both to find successors because their bodies are missing body parts. There's a few reasons as to why I believe that the fight is looming, but the most obvious would have to be that the fact that the Underground Fight Club arc is finally getting ready to wrap up. My foresight was kind of lacking during this arc. I thought that the climax was going to be the face-off between Hood and O'Clock, but this went way left. The next chapter is throwing into the realm of possibility that the #1 hero himself, All might show up. At the beginning, who knows, but definitely by the end. And this by no means takes away from the fact that in chapter 90, that gigantic reveal that the person that was helping All For One help steal all of the quirks inside of the underground fighting facility was none other than Kurogiri himself. So if All For One wants to get into that ring and get to that facility, Kurogiri can make it happen. And if you didn't catch my reviews for those chapters, All For One is in this underground fight club stealing quirks with the aid of Kurogiri. Yeah, that's right, Shirakumo is back. And like I've said before, this version of Kurogiri really isn't like a perfected version. The warp gate isn't as strong as it is in modern times. But I definitely think that it's safe to say that Shirakumo has been Nomuified for at least 6 years at this point. And maybe we could also say that Shirakumo wasn't like totally dead when he was kidnapped and he was more of like a living Nomu test subject, and that's why he's more literate than the average Nomu. Also, let's give a shout out to the fact that the recent chapters have been providing a huge amount of backstory to the ultimate evil himself. We haven't really seen much of All For One as the shadow ruler of the underworld, and the way that he's talking about All Might foiling his plans, it just gives me that old school villain vibe, you know, the one where the villain just has this crazy visceral hate for their foil. I saw that the word that was used was that he referred to All Might as his own personal bugbear, which is pretty much saying that All Might is All For One's source of misery. And I get it, throughout this entire time, All Might has just been this meddling kid, this thorn in All For One's side. And for all we know, All For One is just waiting for the right opportunity or just the appropriate amount of frustration before he can just jump into the ring and try to give him the hands again. And I have a feeling once he appears, All For One is gonna get super antsy to just go at him. But if he steps out, what if we finally see what his face looks like? That's like a huge thing we're not taking into account. Like, yeah, we're gonna finally see that fight, but, you know, he's missing his face in that fight. We're probably gonna see what he looks like. It's a possibility, unless that turns out that, you know, his little messed up face, that's like his hero mask or his villain attire to hide his identity. That would be really messed up, but, you know, either way, that would be fucking wild if somehow Vigilantes reveals All For One's true identity. Also, secondly, I've read enough My Hero Academia to know that All Might is the biggest plot device in the series. So when he's mentioned in a panel in passing by the villain of all people, it's only a matter of time before he appears. I mean, what sucks for Kurogiri and All For One, but is great for us, is the fact that they underestimated O'Clock's willingness to press the All Might button. O'Clock is like, nah, there's way too much shit going down, we need the nuclear option, and the minute Hood shows up, he's like, yep, time to press the button. So get this, essentially, All For One kind of blows up his own plan because of him wanting to just cause this ruckus. And in turn, O'Clock just punches in the cheat code and he's just straight up like up, down, left, right, BA start, Konami code, bitches. But yeah, in general, it just kind of, you know, feels like it's culminating in this OG fight between All Might and All For One. The fight that left All Might with the hole in his chest and organs missing and All For One's face missing. I'd be psyched if the fight turns out to be in Vigilantes, and I know I've spoken to some people about this and they've said that, that fight is really kind of reserved for My Hero Academia. Why would they do it in My Hero Academia Vigilantes? But the thing is, I'd hearken you back to the Shirakumo arc, If they didn't have faith in My Hero Academia Vigilantes, they wouldn't have given the Aizawa guidance story to Vigilantes. But instead of walking that route, they chose to put the story in Vigilantes and substitute an entire arc in that story for Aizawa's backstory. And somehow, they have that story wrap up into Koichi and his own story. So I don't think that it's outlandish to say that All Might may stumble across All for One and the fight that we've all been waiting for to happen happens in Vigilantes. Some pretty awesome acts of coincidence are lining up. I went back and checked out My Hero Academia Chapter 94, the actual main manga. Yeah, it's the chapter when All Might launches the United States of Smash against All for One. And with Chapter 92 looking like All for One and All might fight, well, it's kind of lining up. And this time last year, we got a pretty cool flashback story, so let's not be surprised when, that happens again. I mean, the All Might button has been pressed in Vigilantes before to save the day, and I think it would be pretty awesome to complete O'Clock's backstory if they somehow directly correlate it to All Might. I mean, we could pretty much say that it's a given now that Tanuma feels like the stakes are so high that the whole situation that's erupting right now in Naruhara is reminiscent of All for One's return. Number 6 causing this much mayhem, it's not a coincidence, and it could possibly mean that All for One is making his triumphant return. And that's why he's taking another look at this case. With everything that's going on, Tanuma's intuition has him thinking that these cases could be related to one another. For all we know, the next Vigilantes arc could be the arc where Tsukauchi and Tanuma find out that All for One is still alive and they have to let All Might know. And for all we know, the final arc of My Hero Academia Vigilantes could possibly be adding up to, the final fight between All Might and All for One. With the time skip in Vigilantes and us not exactly knowing when everything is taking place, what if I was possibly right and the whole Endeavor and Pop Step stuff is happening eerily close to the training arc in the forest? Koichi did say that summer was going to change his life, and we love weird coincidence over here in Vigilantes Town, so imagine if the summer is the summer of the second fight between All for One and All Might. That, coupled with the fact that the current arc could possibly have the very first fight, holy shit, that would be one hell of a way to have everything tie into each other. But we've been waiting to see what Vigilantes is setting up for its finale, and with its backstory catching up to its main story, there's only so much time before our best boy shows up. So why not capitalize on this flashback arc and show us that fight that we've been dying to see ever since My Hero Academia started? So I'm all for this, and down below, let me know if you guys think that the possibility is there between Prime All Might and All for One to possibly happen on Christmas Day of all days. What a treat of a chapter that's gonna be, huh? And as for my strikes, I counterclaimed them and they just fell off. So keep the faith alive, man. Other than that, I'm getting out of here. Cheers.